Good morning, New Vision Center. Good morning. So, I don't know about you, but I am ready for a fun Sunday. Yes? I think we have established over the last few weeks that we are all working hard on our daily spiritual practice. Right? So, that's not all that spirit is. I know it's shocking. We do talk about it a lot, and it is a wonderful way to deepen into our knowing of God, but God is the all that is. It's the all that is. And as ready as I am for a really fun Sunday, there's something that I must do first. Because we're not doing our jobs as your ministry team if we don't talk about what's really going on in the world. And after Ron gave that beautiful talk last week, calling attention to the shootings, we've had 3 more just this week. So let's take a moment of silence just to center in. Beautiful. Thank you for joining me in that. And so we're going to do what we do in New Thought, and that is be the energy we wish to see in the world, knowing that as we press that energy into the law, it calls it forth from every quarter. Yes? Beautiful. So that is why my talk is called Playing Twister with God. Because of course it is. So we have so much deepening that goes on in this community between classes, morning meditation, vision group, Teze circles on Wednesday nights, and deepening workshops coming together on Sunday. And it is wonderful, and it is deep, and it is real. And what we know is that God is the all that is. So God is in the silliness, and God is in the loudness, and God is in the fun, just as much as God is in the prayer moments and the deep chanting and the conscious moments. God is also in the playtime. I had a weekend last weekend where I had more fun than I have probably had in the last 3 years. We started with that wonderful ordination party celebration. And then on Sunday night, I was lucky enough to be one of the people who won the Gourmet God bid for Madison and Rachel's luau party, in which I played truly the worst game of volleyball that has ever been played in a pool. But it was so fun, and I laughed so hard, my abs were sore. I had so much fun and was so loudly and proudly me that I got accused by 3 people of being bombed at various parties. I'm just obnoxious. It's just a natural characteristic of the me. It doesn't require too much alcohol, or frankly, any alcohol. And it reminded me of how much God there is in flailing badly at a volleyball that you're never going to get to in that pool with a group of friends. We got to the point where we just celebrated, I touched the ball. Hey, you take your wins where you can get them. And this is what it brought up for me. It brought up this idea of, if God is in the really bad, hilarious volleyball game, and God is in the gathering of friends, and God is in the sweet depth of that ordination party, all of it interwoven, all of it part of one brilliant tapestry. What if God is a little bit like playing Twister? What if that is what life is? So in ministerial school, we play these games, and it's like, how is God like this whiteboard? Make up your top 3 points, go. And we have to come up with our points. So I thought, what are my points? If God is like a Twister game, what are my top 3 points? Well, it's more like spirit than you'd think. See, first you have to get your foundations right. You've all played Twister, right? You have to have the right mat, and you have to lay it out on a very smooth surface. I've got a picture of some folks playing Twister up here. You definitely need to have bare feet. Ever try to play Twister in socks? It doesn't work. You won't stick to the mat, right? You've got to have the right surface. And in playing Twister with God, it's the same. You have to have the right foundation. Here, that means knowing your principles of science of mind, having a basic understanding of universal spiritual laws. Conveniently, Reverend Karen is offering a class in just a few weeks called Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life, which teaches the basics of science of mind principles, just in case you were curious. If you don't have the foundations of your Twister game or your Twister with God game, you might fall, you might crash, you might slide. Ever have your foot just kind of start going? And that's not where you want your foot to go, but it's going. It's slowly sliding. That's what life without a foundation is like. We have to have a grasp of the way the universe works if we want to use those laws to support us. I know, because I take my yoga class like a good girl, that if my foot is sliding on that yoga mat or on that twister mat, if I activate my adductors, my inner thighs, and lock them in, my feet will stop sliding. Right? Anybody ever played that game? What's your version of that in spiritual practice? What do you know will stop the emotional and energetic slide when life starts to get hard? What's your go-to? See, this is one of the tricks to living the life you want to live, to living a life that's joyful and overflowing with good, is to know if it starts to take a turn in the direction you don't want to go, that you have your go-to behaviors. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to say, oh, goodness, I need to call someone and find out what I should do. No, I have my list. For me, personally, a releasing prayer, that's for when I'm throwing a spiritual tantrum. Reverend Penny once told me I'm allowed to throw a spiritual tantrum as long as I listen to what I'm saying when I'm throwing the tantrum and then act on it when I calm down. It's good advice. I share it with you because it's good advice. Releasing prayer, spiritual mind treatment. When I need to change my energy, a spiritual mind treatment pulls me right in. If I need to hear the truth from the inside of myself, meditation. I don't list these because these are the answers. I list them because they're my answers. And each one of us needs to find our big three. What are my big three go-tos to pull me up when I start to slide? Whatever they are, they're the right answer because they're the right answer for you. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So once we have the basic foundations right, we need to make sure that we're paying attention to the whole game board. That's part of the foundation, right? You can't only put right hand on red every single step of the game. Sometimes your foot has to go somewhere. Sometimes somebody has to touch yellow. And it's the same way with playing Twister with God. We cannot think of spirit as only the sanctimonious and the serious and the studious. That was a really good alliteration. We also have to recognize that spirit is the silly and the loud, and little Theo deciding he was going to go on a little journey in the middle of our chanting because everything is exciting to him right now. The candle and the gong and Asha's hair and wherever Oma is, all of it's exciting. That is God too. We have this unfortunate tendency as humans to sort of separate out, to make a division and separate out what is sacred and what is mundane, what is normal, what is not spiritual. And this talk, this moment is an invitation to meld those back together, to unify those back together. If spirit is all there is, and we do like to say that a lot around here, if spirit is all there is, then spirit is all there is. And that means that spirit is all there is. And for those of you who've been around for a while, it's really, really big. It contains everything. Everything from wild volleyball games to Cards Against Humanity at parties to whatever fantastic salads are going to be at the town hall to a sweet, quiet talk with a friend that really needs your support, to quiet times in your garden, to a snuggle with a puppy, and everything in between. Everything. Part of the foundation of life is recognizing that it's all God. There is no silliness that is outside of the life of the divine. We get to have it all. We get to be it all. Yes? So we've got our foundations. Next, it's time to get up close and personal. In Twister, there are these moments, perhaps you've experienced them, where you go to reach that right arm for yellow and you end up with your face right up in somebody's armpit. And you're trying really hard not to tip over, but it isn't working very well. And it's a giggle moment. And sometimes it's a rip-roaring laughter moment. You cannot play Twister with people without getting really close to them in new and interesting ways. And this is true of God as well. We can have a tendency as humans to want to keep God here. A really great idea. Really strong theology. I've read all the books. I know the answers. I can ace that prac test. I know all of the charts on the back of the textbook. You guys ever check out the charts on the back of the textbook? Lists of words, right? I know where all those words go on that test. Does that help me when life is hard? Not a bit. Never once when life was getting challenging have I sat in my room and said, plastic, middle of the chart. Okay, you got it, Leslie. Ideals, top of the chart. Whew, I'm feeling so much better. Cinema pictures, bottom of the chart. Never, right? Have you? No? You don't go through your flashcards to help you feel better? Reread your homework papers? No? Right? Having God here doesn't move us anywhere. What we do is we get up close and personal with that divine energy. We let it into us all the way. All the way. Now, we couldn't actually keep it out if we wanted to. We think we can, don't we? We think that we can maybe only meditate when we're feeling meditative because we're not letting Spirit see the messy. That's what's going on when we don't want to do spiritual practice when we feel yucky. You know that, right? We, on a low-key level, think that we are conning the intelligence that runs the entire universe into thinking we're only ever super, super chill and never take offense and never throw a tantrum. And perhaps you are, in which case, please give me tips, because I am not. I am not. I am a human being that gets upset and holds a grudge sometimes and gets frustrated. And what I know is that God is in me as much in the upset, in the frustration, in the green growing edges, as we like to call them, as it is in me in the moments when I am absolutely on target and absolutely on purpose. If anything, it's a little bit more in me, a little bit more available to me when I'm in the upset, because as Cohen said, the crack is what lets the light in. Sometimes we need to be shaken up a little bit to let the light of the divine really work in us, to really work through us, to know that it knows us through our challenges, through our wild successes, through our abject failures, through our unbelievable falling on the floor giggle moments, through our deep sobbing. All of it. If God is all there is, then God is all there is. And we can try to hide from it ineffectively, or we can play with it. We can know that we are in that dance, in that crazy, windy, reachy, twister dance with the divine that is the truth of all of us. In which case, when life gets challenging, we remember We remember that we are not alone. We remember that it's not only us. We can feel that divine arm and leg wrap around us in whatever that kooky position is, holding us up so that even when we feel like we're sliding, we don't actually fall. We get up close and personal. It means cultivating the life of what lights us up. Because isn't that what the point of being individual expressions of the divine is? If we're all supposed to be the same, why would we be individual? Wouldn't we just all be like little Lego people, where they all look the same and they're all made of the same stuff? And yet, if you look around this room, if you look around at who attends our online campus, you will see every walk of life, every kind of person, every kind of life experience, every level of education, every kind of sexuality and gender expression, and family structure. Every kind. We've all come from different religions of origin or lack thereof, because we're each individual. And the more we lean into who we really are, and what lights us up is a great hint to who we really are, the more we are in that dance with the divine, letting God know us and letting ourselves know that God knows, loves, and accepts us completely. And there could not be a more important time to remember that than here at the heart of the beginning of Pride Month. Who we are is exactly who we are supposed to be. And third, when we're playing Twister with God, you gotta be ready to laugh. There are no serious Twister games. I don't care how competitive you are. You can only get twisted into so many pretzels with your tush a little too close to somebody else's face before it gets funny. Life is gonna happen. Twister is gonna happen. So we might as well embrace the humor of it, embrace the laughter of it. Ernest Holmes said it like this: if we're to know a God of joy, we must be joyful. If we're to know a God of joy, we must be joyful. If we are spending our lives seeking to be more like the divine, if you are spending your life seeking to be more like the divine, then you must be joyful to know that aspect of God. In fancy ministerial school classes, they call it reciprocation or reciprocity. The idea that we do one little thing in the step towards a deeper expression of Godness, and the universe responds back with a tidal wave of evidence that this was a great idea. We take a teeny step towards giving, and woof, here comes the abundance. We take a teeny step towards being more loving, and woof, here comes friends and family and fun and volleyball and joy and hysterical laughter. We take one little step towards letting God know us, and woof, here comes the feeling of the divine pouring through us in everything we do and everything we are. And there is nowhere that we are separate from it ever, ever. I love the way Ernest Holmes said it when he said, God sings all the songs. God dances all the dances, paints all the pictures, creates all the art, writes every book, plays every game. And how does it do this? As us. As us. Choosing every day to have the best day of our life. Choosing every day to know that we are in a giant twister dance with one another and with God as every single one of us and the divine within. So let go. Let go of the confusion that tells you that everything spiritual is supposed to be serious and only deep and make this face. Or this one. And remember That Spirit is just as much in it when we are falling over laughing or not quite making it to that volleyball in the pool. In our expression of joy, we are our most God self, our brightest God self, and we're inviting everybody around us to remember. So our invitation this week, and I would say every week, is to lean into that thing that lights you up, that brings your joyful, happy, sweet God self the most to light. And as we've been talking about working on that calendar, schedule that in and make sure it's an assignment, not a suggestion. Make the space for your own joy. Let's all play Twister with God. And let's anchor it in with some prayer. How good it is to be together, to laugh together, to play together, to celebrate together, to be part of a community that values that play as a deep and essential part of spiritual growth. How good it is to hold one another in the high light, knowing that whatever it is we do, however it is we be, it is God in action. What I know is that every issue in this world, every thought that came in, carried in a heart into this sanctuary, into this online sanctuary, is met right where we are with that message from the inside saying, I got you. We are safe, we are held, we are loved, we are celebrated, we are joyful, we are included, we belong right where we are. There's more than enough of every good thing. And at this moment, as we pray together, there are healings happening. There's abundance being established. There are relationships softening. Because that's how God works as us. And so I just celebrate it and call it good and very, very good as we say together. And so it is.